From some millions-dollar rocks to a solid gold bathtub, these are the dumbest things boxers have spent millions on. Tyson Fury says it himself. He's very rich, and he spends a lot of money on some very dumb stuff. Tyson has had his share of insane parties, with videos online showing him buying rounds for entire pubs. But his dumbest purchase ever has nothing to do with his nights out. Fury once decided to buy some moon rocks. That's right, rocks from the moon, which I have to admit is awesome. What isn't so great is the price. Fury spent $1 million on said rocks. Man, rich people are crazy, especially boxers. Don't believe me? Take a look at this guy. Pacquiao is often hailed as a fighter for the people. This is a way of saying that he comes from humble beginnings, and that even the poorest can look up to him for inspiration. However, it also just means that Manny loves people. Lots of people. On his morning runs, Manny was often accompanied by dozens of friends and strangers. When it comes to his fights, he doesn't want things to be any different. That's why Manny brings all of his friends to fights, and Manny has a lot of friends. For his epic battle against Mayweather, Pacquiao bought 900 tickets. Can you imagine that? 900 tickets for the most expensive fight in history. Pacquiao reportedly spent up to $4 million to make sure every single one of his pals could watch him fight. His large entourage has often enjoyed transport and accommodation as well, and Manny has chartered flights to make sure everybody is there to cheer him on. Hey, they say the more friends you have, the richer you are. So I guess Manny is rich in more than one sense. Speaking of rich boxers, we can't forget about Money Mayweather himself. Floyd Mayweather retired from professional boxing in 2017. And by that time, he was already the richest boxer in history. Floyd has earned over $1 billion from his fights, but nowadays, he's worth around $450 million. So what happened with all the rest of it? He bought some dumb stuff. Floyd owns not one, but 2 private planes. The first one is for moving him around, a Gulfstream G650 that cost him over $60 million. Mayweather has a bed on board and often enjoys massages and high-stakes poker games while flying around the world. Floyd's second plane is for bodyguards and his entourage, which cost him another $30 million. But Floyd doesn't just fly in style, he also likes to ride in style. Mayweather has owned somewhere around 100 luxury cars. It's hard to know how many he has at one time because he likes to buy and sell them strategically. But his current collection is definitely pretty large. Lamborghinis, Ferraris, Rolls Royces, and even extremely exclusive brands like Bugatti and Koenigsegg. Floyd has them all, with a strong preference for white paint jobs. It's hard to calculate exactly how much his entire collection is worth, but his 3 most expensive cars alone, 2 Bugattis and a Koenigsegg, already add up to over $10 million. But let's face it, cars are cool, and if they could, many men would spend their money on 4-wheeled beauties just like Floyd. But some of his genuinely dumb purchases have to do with spoiling his kids. Like the time he spent $20,000 on a ridiculous Bentley golf cart for his son. But if Floyd has a kid he loves spoiling, it's his eldest daughter. For her 16th birthday, Floyd hosted a massive birthday party that included performances by Drake and Future. That party was already over 7 figures, but for her 18th birthday, Mayweather bought her a crazy 30-carat diamond ring. The price was undisclosed, but sources say the ring is probably worth millions of dollars. I just hope she's happy. At least, I hope she's happier than this guy. Evander Holyfield is a 4-time heavyweight champion of the world. He's one of the most successful and best-known boxers to step into a ring. Despite all this, Holyfield is reportedly living alone in a 2-bedroom apartment. How did this happen? You guessed it, he spent a lot of money on stupid stuff. Holyfield has blown around $300 million of his former fortune on extravagant things and a lot of bad business. Some of these bad businesses include his record label, which cost him nearly $3 million, a restaurant worth over $10 million, and a load of hilarious products with his face on them, like fire extinguishers and barbecue sauce. Needless to say, none of these worked out for the boxer. Despite the bad business, Holyfield continued to spend his hard-earned cash, and boy, did he like expensive stuff. But his greatest splurge ever was his home. Holyfield bought a mansion worth $29 million in Georgia. The house and land it's built on are absolutely enormous, totaling 16,000 square feet. The pool is huge. The dining hall can seat up to 100 people, and it even features a bowling alley. Obviously, maintaining a house like this is insanely expensive. How expensive? About a further $1 million every single year. As you've probably guessed, the boxer had to sell this house, but even that was a terrible business move. Holyfield sold the house to a rapper, Rick Ross, for around half the original price. Since then, Holyfield has been facing massive debt, and he has paid a lot of child support as well. Evander has 11 kids with 6 different women, and those divorces definitely add up. In any case, Holyfield is a well-known guy, and if he stops spending money on dumb stuff, he might just make it through. But let's move on to the absolute king of dumb spending. We've all heard of Mike Tyson's wild pets. He bought 3 Bengal tigers in the 90s, each of them worth about $50,000. And I have to admit, having a tiger running around your backyard is a cool idea, but it really isn't practical at all. For a start, there are insane maintenance costs. He spent $125,000 on a trainer, and that's not to mention the food. As you can probably imagine, tigers need a lot of food. Bengal tigers need over 5,000 pounds of meat a year, and that's a lot of money. Tyson reportedly spends about $200,000 a year to keep his cats happy. As you should, because I can't imagine what they would do if they went hungry one day. I can picture the neighbor looking over the fence just to see Iron Mike trying to KO a tiger. Nowadays, even Tyson would probably agree that was a dumb idea. So stick around, because Tyson has had more than his share of dumb ideas. Huge cats are far from the only dumb thing that Mike has spent his money on. In fact, Tyson has spent way too much in his life. Nowadays, Tyson's net worth is reported to be around $10 million. This may seem like a lot to us normal folk, but the truth is that it's a very small fortune for one of the greatest athletes in history. Back in the day, Tyson was worth nearly $700 million. So what happened to all of Mike's money? He spent it on dumb shit. As you can imagine, cars were one of his favorites. But Tyson took it a bit too far and bought around 110 vehicles throughout his lifetime. It's not that he had a huge garage, he just loved buying cars as gifts. One of his personal rides was a special edition Bentley with lamb's wool rugs that cost Mike around $500,000. Of course, his crazy behavior inside the ring also had its cost, and Mike had to pay Holyfield $3 million after biting his ear off. And as we know, in Holyfield's hands, those $3 million were also probably spent on something ridiculous. Tyson didn't look too sorry back then, but I bet he regrets it these days. And still, none of these deserve the title of Tyson's dumbest purchase. That award has to go to the bathtub. In 1988, Mike married his first wife, Robin Givens. As a Christmas present, Mike bought Robin a 24-karat solid gold bathtub. Can you guess how much that cost him? An insane $2 million! I have no idea what Mike was thinking. But apparently, Robin wasn't too impressed, and she divorced Mike just a couple months later. And that's why that has to top the list. So, from some million-dollar rocks to a solid gold bathtub, those were the dumbest things boxers have spent millions on.